What's up guys, infyte here, and welcome back to a brand new video here on the channel. Today, we will be discussing something that I didn't think I'd have to make a video about so abruptly. Today, Nintendo did something pretty random. Nintendo announced that tomorrow morning, March 27th, a Nintendo Direct will air for the Nintendo Switch 1, less than 1 week before the Switch 2 Direct on April 2nd. I would like to say this was unexpected, but I had a pretty big feeling this was going to happen, knowing Nintendo's track record. Originally, leaks suggested that this Direct would air in February, but Nintendo decided to delay the Direct to the end of March, which is pretty dumb in my opinion, especially considering how it'll be overshadowed by the Switch 2 in just a week. Nevertheless, I'm hella excited for this Direct, as it has been almost a year since our last full Nintendo Direct in June. The Pokemon Presents was very underwhelming and felt really empty for Pokemon Day. This past week, lots of new information has leaked about Z to A, as well as a new Pokemon TCGP update releasing this week as well, in addition to the leaks saying that there's a Direct this week, all of which kinda made me expect that there would be a Direct. So today, I'll be predicting what I expect to see in tomorrow's Nintendo Direct. With all that out of the way, please make sure to subscribe to the channel and join the Discord link in the description. And if you want to support the channel even further, consider becoming a part of the infyte squad, which will give you exclusive channel perks like seeing my videos early, chatting with me on Discord, and getting a shout out at the end of all of my videos. My merch shop is also now available, where you can purchase infyte merch like shirts, hoodies, hats, and more. All links will be down in the description below, and without further ado, let's begin the video. First things first, I want to make a disclaimer. I'm not expecting all these things to happen, rather some potential games that I believe would fit better as Switch 1 releases rather than Switch 2. I don't expect any new information on the new 3D Mario, Mario Kart, or any big releases. I kinda expect it just to focus on ports, previously announced games, and maybe some surprises in the middle of things. Starting off, let's get some confirmed games out of the way. We will most likely get a segment focused on Pokemon Legends Z to A, revealing the new Megas, the main story, and a release date. It has been leaked multiple times by multiple sources this week, including Pioro, so I think this is pretty much a lock-in. I think they'll also mention the TCGP update at the end, mainly because of the Ranked update and new Shining Revelry expansion that is releasing also on the exact same day. Next up is Metroid Prime 4, which will probably also get an overview trailer and release date. I think it would be a good idea if Nintendo released a Metroid Prime 2+3 collection similar to what they did with Pikmin 1 and 2, with 3 getting the deluxe treatment and the other 2 getting ports. This next section will focus on existing games that could potentially receive post-launch content in the form of free updates or paid DLC. Some Switch games in particular stand out to me as highly likely DLC potential. First off, Pikmin 4 is particularly something that many people have been asking for, and I think adding in some DLC would please many Pikmin fans. Maybe give us some side stories focusing on Louie, Alf, Charlie, and Brittany. I mean, we have Olimar's story, but what about the others? There are so many ideas that could be explored if the opportunity for DLC was introduced. Next up is a game that I've been openly critical towards in the past, Super Mario Bros. Wonder. This is mainly due to the lack of replayability and bland gameplay. I had such high expectations for Mario Wonder, and the game ended up being very forgettable and didn't feel like the Mario games I experienced as a part of my childhood. That may be because I grew up in the new Super era, and that's what I was used to, but I feel like the Mario Wonder game tried being its own thing, but went too far from the traditional Mario formula. The characters are great inclusions, but I don't have any reason to use most of them because they all play the exact same other than Yoshi and Nabbit. I would have loved to see the characters get unique abilities like in 3D World, instead of the lame badges we ended up getting. In the DLC, I would want to see new characters, worlds, power-ups, as well as a free update to give characters unique abilities, allow real online co-op, and for God's sake, please give us save files! Finally, Super Mario Party Jamboree is an interesting topic. All previous Mario Party games were not given DLC, including Super's planned DLC being scrapped and Superstar's obvious DLC opportunity being thrown away. Although, Jamboree has a few ideas that make me believe that we will at least get some form of post-launch content. On the back of the North American box art of the game, amiibo support is listed despite not being implemented in any way in the game at all. Couple that with the reprints of many Mario series amiibo, particularly ones that don't have Smash Bros. Variations. I think these amiibo reprints were not just coincidental. I think that Jamboree will get some form of post-launch content, adding in a few characters, boards, and minigames. Additionally, amiibo support will be introduced, allowing you to start with an ally of the amiibo that you scan, which brings me to my next idea, giving more characters the ally treatment. The same 10 allies get really repetitive, and one of them is only available in motion minigames, which is really lame. Overall, more Mario Party content would be great, especially since we won't get any more Mario Party content on Switch 2 for another 2.5 years. Now that we have the confirmed games and DLC content out of the way, now we can talk about the fun stuff, including the ports I predict that will get announced in the Direct. There have been many leaks for games that are supposedly getting released for Switch 1, and I think this is the last chance for some fan-favorite games to get announced. The main port being talked about is Kirby Planet Robobot, which was originally released for the 3DS in 2016. This game has been leaked numerous times, and I think it's a pretty high chance of being one of the last Switch 1 games to release. I'm not the biggest Kirby fan out there, but I've heard many good things about the game, and think it would be a really good idea to release for Switch 1, because the original game didn't do very well, primarily because the Switch was releasing like a year after, and 3DS games weren't backwards compatible with the Switch. Since Switch 2 will be backwards compatible, more people will be able to enjoy the game, as it'll probably release close to the Switch 2's launch, or even after. Next up is another remake that's been rumored for quite a while, being Fire Emblem 4: Genealogy of the Holy War. The game has been rumored for almost 5 years now, and considering it has been a while since Fire Emblem Engage released, I think it'd be a good time to localize the game, especially since it's on NSO for Japan only, and since Fire Emblem 1 got localized a while back, I think it's a pretty high possibility we could see a game like this get a remake on Switch 1. As I mentioned previously, I think Metroid 2+3 will be released for Switch 1 without a doubt. Similar to the Pikmin franchise, there's a very similar timeline with Metroid. 1 and 2 got released on GameCube, Wii got remasters of previous games, and Metroid Prime got a new game. Pikmin 3 was originally intended for the Wii but got delayed. And after Pikmin 3 got released on Wii U, we ended up getting a Pikmin side-scroller in between 3 and 4 to give more time for 4's development, similar to Metroid Dread. Then Pikmin 3 Deluxe was released to give Pikmin content to Switch, and Metroid Prime Remastered was released for the same reasoning. Once Pikmin 4 got released, the other 2 Pikmin games were ported from the Wii with minimal changes. Do you see where I'm going with this? It's something that has been leaked multiple times, and considering how Metroid 2 and 3 also released for the Wii, it's pretty likely this is going to happen. Finally, the part of the video that everybody has been waiting for, the new games. I do not think that there will be many new games releasing for Switch 1, but there are a few that have some merit to them. First up is Nintendo Switch Sports Resort. I know it's a weird start, but last year there were some Switch codenames that got leaked, one of which turned out to be Super Mario Party Jamboree, which got announced a month later. The other codenames reference a cancelled Mario Odyssey sequel, which most likely got pushed to Switch 2, and a codename Anna. For reference, the codename for Switch Sports is Elsa, so it is most likely a sequel. Don't ask me why Nintendo referenced Frozen of all things for the codenames, but that's what was found. I also think they could implement many of the sports that were absent from the original, as well as many sports from Wii Sports Resort. It would make sense as well, considering it would potentially release around the same time as Switch 2, which would replicate the Wii launching with Wii Sports, which is what caused the Wii to sell so well in the first place. So the release timing would be pretty spot on. Next up is another sports game, Mario Sluggers. I know this series has been dead for almost 2 decades, but considering how every other Mario sport is on Switch, this is a very high likely chance to release on Switch. And considering how Nintendo likes to end their consoles with a Mario sports game, I can very much see this happening. The fact Nintendo also just sponsored a baseball team, it's a bit suspicious considering they've been sponsoring the team for a while and are just now promoting the company on the team's jerseys. It sounds to me like they are working on something baseball related, and I think it's that time that we got a baseball game for the Switch. If not Mario Baseball, then it'll probably be some kind of sports collection similar to Sports Mix on the Wii and Sports Superstars on the 3DS. And finally, the most obvious game that I believe will get announced. A game that I've been vouching for years. A game that is well beloved by thousands. A game that was literally my childhood game. Of course, the game I am talking about is Super Mario 3D Land for the Nintendo Switch. No, get that piece of shit out of here. Nobody cares about that inferior 3DS game. Jokes aside, I am talking about none other than Tomodachi World. As somebody who grew up playing the 3DS, I have so many fond memories of this game. It was by far my favorite game on my 3DS. Something about the Miis being put in a world, interacting with each other, solving their problems, always had a soft spot for me. When Miitopia got released for Switch, I was ecstatic, not because I loved Miitopia specifically, more due to the fact that it was essentially confirmation that Tomodachi Life had a real chance for a Switch port, though makeup and wig features introduced in Miitopia could easily be carried over to Tomodachi Life. I think it would be a great way for Nintendo to bring back the Miis for Switch 2, after being essentially killed off for the Switch. Nintendo is aware of the fan service Tomodachi Life has, and knows the fans would pay full price for a new game. That's why Nintendo would be smart to release it for Switch 1 rather than Switch 2. If they released it for Switch 1, people would buy the game if they already have a Switch. If released for Switch 2, less people would end up buying it because not as people would have a Switch 2 so close to its release, and the game wouldn't sell well during launch. Considering now the Switch 2 will be backwards compatible, people who own Switch 2 would also be able to experience the game as well, which would be a win for everybody. Nintendo would get it to sell well, Switch 1 owners would be able to play the game that has been so highly requested for years, and Switch 2 owners would have another first-party, highly anticipated game at the Switch 2's launch. If you haven't caught on yet, I think these games will release in order to give the Switch 2 more launch titles in a way. The Switch 1 didn't really have the best launch, only really having Breath of the Wild and 1-2 Switch as first-party games. But considering how Switch 2 is backwards compatible, there will be new games from multiple franchises at launch. Essentially every main Nintendo franchise is covered here, and that is what would guarantee the success of the Nintendo Switch 2. I know my predictions are a bit unrealistic, but I think Nintendo has had these games finished for a while now, and we're just waiting for the right time to release them. If you've enjoyed this video, share it with others so they can enjoy it as well. Recently, my channels unfortunately got hit with the YouTube algorithm change, reducing the chance of my videos being recommended. But with your support on the video, it'll be able to reach more and more people in the algorithm. And tune in tomorrow at 9:30 AM Eastern Time for a live stream reacting to the new Direct on my channel. And with that, thank you all so much for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe. Take care, and bye-bye.